The night in Tik-oka village was quieter than most. The people were resting in their homes, and the animals in the nearby jungle seemed to settle under the thick blanket of darkness. But in the distance, a scream rang through the air. A scream, so sharp, so full of terror it shook the very foundation of Tik-oka. The villagers, still half dreaming, heard it. Women, children, men, waking in a start, their hearts pounding in their chests. No one dared to speak for a moment. Everyone knew what the scream meant. It meant another child, another woman had been attacked. By the time the villagers reached the source of the scream, it was too late. A young girl, no older than 13, lay on the ground in the dust, sobbing uncontrollably. Her dress was torn, her body bruised. Her attacker was already gone, vanishing like a shadow into the night. Her family gathered around her, helpless, angry, and devastated. The man who had done this was not a stranger. No, it was someone they all knew. A man who had hurt before. A man who had gotten away with it. He had done it once, twice, 3 times. Each time, King Jaffar had forgiven him. And now, here was another victim. To hear more amazing stories, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. King Jaffar, ruler of Tik-oka, was known for his kindness. It was said that he had a heart as soft as the clouds in the sky. He never liked to punish anyone harshly, believing that all people could change, that everyone deserved a second chance. He thought mercy was the path to peace. But under his reign, peace had become a distant dream. Children were not safe. Women were attacked in broad daylight. Men would steal, fight, and cause harm without fear of consequences. They knew that as long as they could plead, King Jaffar would forgive them. Jaffar's kindness seemed to only make the problem worse. It seemed as though every wrongdoer was able to escape with a light punishment, and the fear and tension in the village grew with each passing day. Jaffar had 2 sons. Kofi, the younger son, was spoiled and reckless. He had everything he wanted from the day he was born. He was the prince, entitled, wild, and careless. He would do things that no prince should do. He would assault women, pick fights with anyone who dared challenge him, and steal from the people. But each time he was caught, his father would forgive him. "He's young," Jaffar would say. "He will learn in time." But Kofi never did. Instead, he grew bolder. His older brother Akim watched this with growing frustration. Akim was everything Kofi was not. He was serious, disciplined, and careful with his words. Akim understood the gravity of his father's position. He knew that people needed to respect the law. He knew that the village could not thrive if criminals were left unchecked. "Father, you should be selling ice cream, not ruling a kingdom," Akim would argue. "You're too kind. You let the criminals walk away and our people suffer. The village is falling apart." King Jaffar would sigh. "Mercy is the key to peace, my son. If I punish them too harshly, we will become as bad as they are." But Akim could see the truth in the eyes of the villagers. He saw how parents kept their children indoors. He saw how the women were afraid to walk alone. He saw how the criminals roamed free, knowing they would never be punished. The village was suffocating under a blanket of fear. One day, King Jaffar, now 78, fell ill. His body grew weak, and soon it was clear that he would not recover. As his death approached, Akim knew that his time had come. His father's reign, with all its kindness and mercy, had come to an end. Akim would become the new king. The transition was not easy. Many in the village were afraid of what would come next. They had grown used to King Jaffar's forgiving rule. Would Akim be as merciful? Would he be as kind? But Akim knew something had to change. The village had become a shadow of itself. Corruption, fear, and violence had taken root. The offenders had no respect for anyone, least of all the king. When Akim took the throne, he made a vow. I will not forgive evil. Those who harm others will face the full consequences of their actions. There will be no mercy for rapists, murderers, or thieves. The law will be upheld. The people of Tik-oka were shocked. Many had grown used to the softness of King Jaffar. Some of them even feared that Akim would be too harsh. But the truth was, the village needed change. The people needed to feel safe again. Soon after, word spread that Akim was looking for ways to deal with the worst offenders. One day, as he sat with his advisors, a thought struck him like a lightning bolt. I have an idea, Akim said suddenly. We will build a special prison, but not just any prison. We will build it next to the zoo, right by the lions and the bamboo forest. The advisors looked at each other in confusion. Your Majesty, one of them said, why next to the lions? They are dangerous
Akim
animals. Smiled coldly, because they behave like animals, and those who harm others will be treated like animals. The prison was built quickly, just as Akim had ordered. It was a small, simple structure, but it was surrounded by the sounds of the jungle, the roar of lions, the rustling of bamboo. Akim's plan was clear. Those who hurt others, especially women, would be kept in cells right next to the lions. They would live in constant fear, knowing that the animals were just a few steps away. The first person to be locked in the new prison was none other than Prince Kofi, Akim's own brother. Kofi had been caught assaulting a woman once again. He begged his brother for mercy. Please, brother, let me go. I'll never do it again, Kofi pleaded. But Akim remained unmoved. You have terrorized this village for too long, he said. Now you will face the fear you've caused others. Kofi was locked up in the cage, just a few feet away from the lions. The roar of the lions could be heard every night, and Kofi's fear grew with each passing day. He couldn't escape. He couldn't run. All he could do was listen to the growls and grow more terrified. As word of Akim's decision spread, the village began to change. The criminals, knowing what awaited them if they were caught, either fled the village or stopped their harmful ways. No one wanted to be locked up next to the lions. Tik-oka slowly became a peaceful place again. Children could play outside without fear. Women could walk the streets without looking over their shoulders. People could go about their lives without worrying about violence or crime. And then, something strange began to happen. Neighbors from nearby villages started visiting Tik-oka. They came to see the new king's methods. They saw how Akim had taken a firm stand against crime and how his strategy had worked. One by one, neighboring villages adopted Akim's approach. They too started locking criminals near wild animals, where the terror of the jungle would serve as a reminder of the consequences of their actions. And soon, Tik-oka's influence spread far and wide. The evil that had once ruled over the region was slowly eradicated. Under King Akim's rule, Tik-oka flourished. It became a place of peace and safety. The lions, once just wild animals, had become a symbol of justice. And for the first time in many years, the people of Tik-oka could sleep peacefully at night. Akim's reign was marked by fairness and strength. The criminals who once ruled the village now lived in constant fear, knowing that they would face the full force of justice. And though Akim never showed it, deep down, he knew that he had done what his father had been too kind to do. He had saved Tik-oka, and in the process, had become the king the village needed. And so, Tik-oka became a place of safety once more. Akim's rule brought peace to the land. The roar of the lions no longer served as a warning of fear. It was a reminder of the justice that ruled over Tik-oka and of the man who had made it all possible. The villagers would never forget the day when their king decided that mercy, though valuable, was not enough. Justice, they learned, would always be the true path to peace.